Hi everyone, it's Jill Foster here for Penny Black, and I am so excited to tell you today about a new product line, our Flower of the Month Kit Starter. So to begin, why a monthly kit starter? The first is motivation. So research shows that novelty can keep us interested and inspired. So a small new kit starter each month consisting of two stamps and can keep one engaged and active in their hobby without overspending or collecting too many choices. This kit is also very flexible. You can mix and match with your stash, and each month we'll use the same formula to build our kit using previously released, never going out of style Penny Black supplies. And I'll show you exactly how I do that. So you can either play along with your stash or mix and match with what I'm choosing as well. This is also a commitment free kit, so it doesn't require any long term commitment or yearly sign up. You just see what the new Flower of the Month kit starter stamps are each month when we introduce them, and then decide if you'd like to purchase. So it's really simply month to month inspiration. So this is what we're starting with. The first stamp set is the Tulips in Bloom, and we do have the cutouts available, and the Rain or Shine stamp set, and the cutouts are available for that too. So the Flower of the Month stamp's going to have the flowers, a background image, some sentiments, and then the second stamp set is going to be like a holder for your flowers, which is going to be really fun to mix and match with your stash and with future Flower of the Month kits. So this is how to build a kit. So we use our kit starter, and then this is what's in my kit and how I chose it. So you can build a kit from your stash, or you can mix and match with new and old to build your kit, or you can do it however you want. But what I did is I looked at these 5 elements. I wanted a frame or a background die. So this month I'm using our Classy Frames, an embossing folder. So I'm using Baroque, a die cut sentiment. I'm using Bloom Magical, some die cut flowers that will fit in that new holder, Delicate Daisies, and a die cut holder from my stash that will fit the new flowers. And so I'm using Mason jar. So here's a look at each of those elements. So this is that Classy Frames die set. And so I have those, and I just pre-cut everything out of watercolor paper, and I put everything into a gallon size Ziploc baggie. That's how I made my kit. I just kept it really simple. That's the Baroque embossing folder. I embossed a few sheets of that, put it into the baggie. This is the Bloom Magical die cut. I die cut a couple of those and put them into the baggie. Here is the Delicate Daisies. So those are going to fit into that new stamp holder, which I love that we have this holder. So now you could look at other stamps in your stash or other die cuts in your stash and really start bringing those back and getting excited about using them again because you have this new kit starter for inspiration. And then this is that Mason jar die cut, and that will really hold these tulips well. So that is from my stash, but I'm mixing and matching with that new Tulips in Bloom stamp set that's part of our kit starter. Now each month I'm going to have these essentials. They are on my desk. I reach for them all the time. So most months these are going to make it into use with my kit. Our background basic stencil set, posted and posted cutouts, and some type of butterfly die. So this month I'm using Soaring. So here's a look at those. I use these all the time, and again, I'm going to keep reaching for them. If you love something, just keep doing it until it's boring for you. That's my thought process. This is the background basic stencil set. You get all of these with this set. There's a mixture of 5x7 and 4¼ by 5½ inch A2 size stencils. You also get all of the interior pieces that you can use on your cards. And I just love using this. It makes for really easy cards and really finished and polished looking, I think. So each month I'm also going to bring you some coloring ideas for those new kit starter stamps. So you've seen what's the kit starter, what's the new items, and then what's in my kit, and now some coloring. So first is just some basic coloring. It's basic, but it is beautiful, and I love these images are great for coloring. You can do them, I'm going to be doing watercolor, but you can also do them with colored pencils or Copics. All of those are going to work great with these kit starters. For the first basics, I'm stamping onto Canson 140-pound watercolor paper with Versafine Onyx black ink. I'm using my Distress Reinkers to paint these in, and I'm just putting those onto just a cheap palette. I think I picked it up up at Walmart. I have my paper towel and water handy and my paintbrush, and all of the exact colors, everything I'm using will be listed down below in the YouTube description box, along with links to all of the kit starter items, the formula that I use to make my kit. Now in this first one, I just wanted to show you that if you're new to watercoloring, you can go really basic. I'm picking up one color from my palette. I've stamped in black, and I am just coloring it in. No stress about shading, any of that. Just putting some color. My one small tip that I would recommend if you like the look is to leave a little bit of white within the part that you're coloring in. So you'll see on mine I have some white here and there, and that just adds some life to your image. It also gives it sort of that storybook watercolor look. So I finished the leaves, and now I'm moving up to the tulip here, and I'm just using one color to paint that in, but I am leaving some white just as a way to add some life to that. You'll also see I do sometimes lift some color. So I will pat off my paintbrush on the paper towel there and come back with basically a pretty much dry brush, a thirsty brush, and you can lift up color. But you can see how quick and easy it is to color these, and it is they're beautiful. They don't need a lot because the stamps are so beautiful. So I am just going to show you here how I colored these in. This is sort of that first basic look. So there is how I did those flowers. And now I will do the boots. So this one here, I'm going to put the color down right there where I want it to be the darkest. Rinse off and pat my brush dry and go back and blend that. And I'll do the same thing over here on this boot. Put it where I want it to be the darkest and just paint it in. Very simple, and you can see I left a little bit of white on there. Only one color, and this is some quick coloring, but very pretty. And like I said, if you like markers or you like colored pencils, you can totally do that too. So I'm just finishing by adding a little bit more color here on the boots, and then you can cut those out and make your cards with that. So now I'm going to show you, that was basic but beautiful. Now some no line watercoloring, but again, pretty simple version of that. So when I do no line watercoloring, I like to stamp with Memento Toffee Crunch ink, and I'm stamping in my stamp positioning tool onto Canson 140-pound cold press watercolor paper. And so I'll do a couple impressions just because there is some texture to that paper. And I like this as kind of a faux no-line watercolor look because there are lines there, which is very forgiving. But they sort of fade or recede into the background. It gives you less of that black outline coloring book look. Here I'm going to be using two colors to do my shading. So I put the first color down. When the ink is most concentrated on my brush, I put that where I want it to be darkest. Then I rinse off my brush and pat it dry on the paper towel. And then I grab that darker color. So this is Scattered Straw and Rusty Hinge that I'm using. I put that darker color where I want it to be darker, and it will kind of just bleed out onto that lighter color that's already there. I am working around the image so that I don't have two that are right close together and everything starts blending into itself. So I'm just putting down that color and then adding the darker color and sort of letting that blend. And if I need to lift, I go back with that thirsty brush to lift that up. And there's really no like wrong way you can do this. I do tend to put my darker color where it looks like a petal is going under another petal, or at like this petal towards the bottom where it's kind of sinking down behind the one that's in front of it. Now when I made all of my cards, you saw when I prepped my kit, I already had all those things die cut. I could just cut everything from watercolor paper because for me then it's just ready to go and I can color it and mix and match however I would like. So all of those were in my kit. Then I went ahead and stamped a whole bunch of the new stamped images and then did all of my paintings. So just kind of working assembly line style, but using that kit starter just to get me going, to keep me motivated and have everything right there. It also helps limit choices. So if you have a hard time getting started, this is a great way to just sort of limit choices, lower the decision fatigue. I don't need any of that when I'm crafting. Life provides us with enough of that. Now on this leaf, just stepping it up just a bit from that basic coloring. So I put down that first green color peeled paint, and then I added a little bit of forest moss where I wanted it to be a touch darker. But again, this is pretty simple. You can play around with these. What's fun too is if you make multiple cards, you can really get a lot of good practice coloring in the same image, trying different ways. Maybe you start with just the very basic, and then your next one you just try to amp up the leaves a little bit if you're wanting to do that. But again, if you just like a simple watercolor, there's really a lot of beauty and charm in that as well. Now, I have seen all of the flowers for the year and the holders, and I'm so excited to be sharing this with you each month. I would love to know in this first video what you love the most. Do you love the coloring, seeing the coloring, how to build the kit? Is there something you would like to see more of in the video? I always appreciate all of your feedback. So leave us a comment down below. We appreciate everything that you say and your perspective on things too. And make sure that if you aren't already subscribed to our channel, that you are subscribed so that whenever we have new videos coming out, you will know. So hit the bell notification in YouTube here, and then you'll get a notification whenever a new video comes out. So each month when we're introducing the new flowers, if you are subscribed and have that bell notification, ring that bell, then you will know right away when a new one comes out each month. We won't have like a specific day. We try to kind of keep approximately 1 month from the previous month's release. But so just be sure that you're subscribed. And I love with this system too, you can start if you purchase each month, you can start mixing and matching the kit starter stamps with each other. So different flowers in different holder stamps like the boots. So let's do color one more. So we've done our basic. We kind of amped it up a little bit with no line watercolor. We're going to continue with that no line look. So this is stamped with Memento Toffee Crunch ink onto Canson 140-pound watercolor paper. And I'm just going to do a little bit more color mixing right here on my image. I've slowed things down just so you can get a little bit of real-time painting. And also I've backed the camera up so you can also get a look at sort of that rhythm or that back and forth between palette to paper to water brush to paper towel. So again, let me know, what do you like to see? Do you like the real time or a little bit of real time and then speed it up? I think if I did it all in real time, you'd get really bored with me. So I'm just doing some here in the real time. I put down the picked raspberry color, and then I'm adding some seedless preserves right on top of that while it's wet where I want it to be darker, and just kind of blending that out. And I know I want this petal to probably be my darkest one. Now on tulips, I really love that you can mix colors right there on the stamp. You can have a flower, there's this open area, so you can have a flower that has some pinks and yellows on it, and that's what I'm going to be doing here on this one. So I'm again moving on to this petal here. I'm putting down the picked raspberry, want it to be darkest, rinsing off my brush, patting it, and going back to blend. Rinsing off my brush again, patting it dry, and picking up, this is dried marigold, so I've picked it up directly, that concentrated ink from the palette, and I'm putting it where I want it to be. And look at how beautifully those mix together, and how this stamp just gives you the opportunity to really play with color and play with your paints. And here I am, I'm just going to mix those together and get just a touch more of the picked raspberry. So the watercoloring is very forgiving. You can always go back and add more layers on top. Like here, I'm going back to this petal and adding just a little touch of that dried marigold. Like I said before, all of the exact colors I'm using will be listed down in that YouTube description box below, along with what's in my kit, the formula for how I made my kit, the new kit starter stamps, even what paper and inks and paintbrush I'm using. I'll put all that for you down in that YouTube description box below. So I'm just continuing to work around on this flower, putting down the pink, that picked raspberry where I want it to be darkest, and then rinsing off and blending that out so the concentrated ink goes where I want it to be the darkest. Then I will add some of that dried marigold. And if I want a little bit more darkness, I pick up just the tiniest bit of that Seedless Preserves, that purple color, which you can see I'm doing right there. Now you also saw I went in and used my heat tool to dry that little section. I wanted that to be dry before I put that Seedless Preserves on there so that it didn't blend into the adjacent petal. So I'll just continue working my way around like this. Blending that out with the water. Now, don't worry, at the end of this video, we'll have a little card gallery and I'll show you how I pulled together my kit that I made, the new kit starter stamps to make all of the cards. So I'll have 7 card ideas for you here at the end of the video. And if you don't want to see all the coloring, just fast forward. That's no problem. You can always fast forward to the parts that are pertinent to you and that you want to see. Here I am working on the leaf, putting down that evergreen bough where I want it to be darkest. I rinsed off my brush and patted it dry, and then I'm going back to blend. Picking up a little bit more of that concentrated color. Actually, here I've got forest moss and putting it where I want it to be darkest. I love these two colors together on leaves. And then I'll put the evergreen bough here up at the top. Now another great thing about these kit starter stamps is with the flowers, you get the two, like for instance, I've just stamped one of the tulips and one of the buds. But if you look at this actual stamp set itself, you're getting the tulip in both orientations. So you can really use that on your card designs, and you'll see that with mine. You can create a bunch of tulips, but it's not all the same tulip. So some are like leaning to the left and some leaning to the right, which doesn't seem like a big deal until you start mixing and matching and making your cards. And that just that simple detail opens up a lot more design opportunities, things that you can do with just that one stamp set. So we finished the leaves here on this guy, just getting the stem. Put that evergreen bough and then a little touch of that forest moss, and then I'll blend those together. Now you'll notice here my paper towel is starting to get pretty wet, and so you'll see me kind of reaching around to the side or the front to find a dry spot. And if you find when you're painting that things are just blending all into each other, or it feels like your colors are a little different, check your paper towel. It may be that it's just too wet and you're not able to remove enough of the water off of your brush before you're going back to your paper. So you can even sometimes I just flip mine over if I had a pretty thick folded up piece there, or get a new one. And you can if you're conserving, and I do this, is if I have a wet one that's not too wet, I'll just set it off to the side and get a new folded up piece of paper towel. And then once the other one dries, you can bring it back in and use it again. But that is something I notice, that when I'm like, why is this just not going as smoothly as it usually does, or my colors are just moving too much, it's usually because my paper towel has gotten too wet, or I keep just dabbing off my brush in the exact same place. So you can even just twist your cup and your paper towel. And my paper towel probably has, I don't know, maybe 6 squares, panels when I pull it out before I tear it, and I fold that all up. So it's a pretty thick piece there to absorb that water when I'm rinsing off my brush and patting it dry. This is broken china that I'm putting on first, and then I'm going to put a little bit of the evergreen bough on top of that. And again, those two mix really nicely together to create sort of a teal boot. These are fun too, these boots. You can play around with different colors for the boots. You could get some white acrylic paint, and after it's dry, add polka dots on the boots. There's so many different things you can do with these. The kit starter stamp also comes with a little section of a background design. Again, so great that you don't have to go dig out a background stamp or buy a background stamp, but you can have that piece that's going to add a lot to your cards. And I even will show you in a little bit a card that I made where I used a touch of that background stamping in the same color as the boots just for some added texture because it's kind of like a checked texture. You'll see it when it comes up. But don't be afraid to even take that to your flowers, to the boots, to play around with those different ways you can use that background stamp that comes as part of the kit starter. I also think the background stamps that come with these, I'm going to be reaching for a lot for other cards too. I just really love these designs so much. So the boots are done. I'm just going to add a little bit of weathered wood, the gray color down here at the bottom. And those are finished. So here's a look at the ones we just painted together. And you will see that from the basic to the one we just did where we did more color mixing, they are all beautiful. And I think that's just because the stamps start out beautiful. I love each and every one of these. Now let's go ahead and pull it all together and I'll show you the cards that I made with these new kit starter stamps and my kit. So this first one you can see I've got multiple tulips in there. I've used the cutout dies and that classy frames I've added to the background. That's the only 5x7 card, all the rest are standard. Here you can see I've used that background basic stencil. This is that background stamping I was talking about on the boots that comes in your kit starter stamp, and I added those butterflies. This is basically almost a one layer. I've got that embossing folder that on the side, and here I've used those tulips. It's really handy, like I said, to have them, where one is going to the left and one is going to the right. This one, I've used the cutout dies, bunched up several tulips and a bud, and I used the frame and the embossing folder and the die cut sentiment here from my kit. So lots of different ways that you can use those to come up with different designs. And I find I really do that when I narrow things down, limit my choices. There's that background stamping that's a part of the kit starter that I've used in a couple places. I've put it onto that posted. I love that posted stamp. You can make your own flower each month. Here I've used the boots, the new kit starter holder, and added my die cut flowers. I also added the stenciling to the background and added those die cut flowers from my kit, from my stash inside. This time I've used the from my stash and kit, the mason jar holder, and added the new flowers inside. And I just love doing that. You can see I've used that interior piece of the frame and used the background stamp on there. I've also used the sentiments that are included with the kit starter stamp. So right there you can have the sentiments that really match up well with these. But of course you can always go to your stash if you're looking to personalize or have a specific occasion that you are creating for. So here are still shots of all of the cards I created using our new Flower of the Month kit starter stamps and the kit that I made using our formula and from my stash of penny black products that never go out of style. I hope you've enjoyed this video and that you are as excited as me about this new Flower of the Month kit starter from Penny Black. Leave us a comment down below. What are you most excited about? What cards did you love? We just really appreciate your feedback and encouragement. And truly, personally, I just want to thank each and every one of you for that. We have a great community here on YouTube. Remember, you can also continue to get inspired by Penny Black on Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, as well as our website and blog. There's a blog post specifically for this release, so I'll link all that for you down below. Happy stamping!